Now the sun is just starting to climb up over the treetops, and it's gonna be a beautiful day, that's plain to see.
Welcome to Bill Dance Outdoors, America's most popular and longest running TV fishing show.
Now I've gone fishing with Bill Dance today.
Hello everybody. Let me share a little story with you before we get started today. You know, as a youngster growing up, I spent every minute possible fishing the Mississippi River oxbows near my Memphis, Tennessee home. Early one June morning, I was about to launch my little 14-foot John boat, and an elderly fisherman asked me, "Hey, you going after bass today?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He told me, he said, "Tie on a double horse lure and fish only the outside edge of the cypress trees, and fish them slow. Fish it extremely slow." Did you hear me? I said slow. Well, I thanked him and I did exactly what he said. Well, that morning I only caught 6 bass and I missed 2. Our paths crossed many times on the same lake, and Mr. Jim taught me something every time. But one thing he told me time after time was, when big mouth bass are stubborn and hard to come by, accurate cast, retrieve speeds, and lure actions will earn you success. Never forget that. As most of us know, today we live in the fast lane. The world seems to be obsessed with speed. It's always hurry here, hurry there. We don't say how far is it, instead how long will it take to get there. Everything seems to have a time element, and today it's often that way with fishing. High-speed reels, lightning action rods, quick-set fishing lines, boats that practically fly across the surface, outboard engines and trolling motors that are stronger and faster than ever before. The buzzword now is run and gun, and I believe this is a major mistake. We need to incorporate 2 words in our fishing, and they are slow down. There he is. Whoa, Nelly. A big old lazy looking bass right there. Edge. What do you say, old Ben? That's an old fish. Come here and say ah to me. There we go. And a big pretty fish. Yes, you are. You like that thing, didn't you? Let me show you what we're having our best success with. One of Bass Pro Shop's 1/4 ounce Pro weedless jig heads with a Bass Pro Shop hollow craw trailer in the Okeechobee color, with a black and blue skirt plus skirt. This combination is one of my all-time favorites. Yep, there's no doubt about it. Of all the ingredients to successful fishing, few are more critical than making the proper cast with the right lure at the correct speed. Now, far too many of today's bass fishermen pay absolutely no attention to their presentation. They speed across the lake, pull up on a point, make several fast casts with their trolling motor running on high, and if the bass doesn't come up, running to chase down a smoking bait. They're off racing to another spot.
Bill Dance Outdoors, sponsored by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. Rebel, catch fish anywhere. And by Mercury Marine, go boldly. Today's Conditions Log is brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development. Come experience the kind of beauty that can only be made in Tennessee. Go online today for your free Tennessee vacation guide.
There's one. Coming right at me. Ooh, boy, that's a big one. Where you going, buddy? Well, they just don't like to get caught, do they? Well, he's a pretty one. They're all pretty. We'll come back here and get you, old boy. Look at that big old mouth. Come on back up here. Easy. There you go. Man. I love that bait. Look at that. Big old fat potted baby. Aren't you nice? Yes, you are. Didn't miss me meals either, had you? See you, buddy. You know, most anglers have one rapid method of fishing a crankbait, one speed for a spinnerbait, and one quick technique for fishing a worm or a jig in and around cover. Now, if they do this, they're missing catchable fish. It's true, when bass are extremely active, your presentation is not nearly as critical. It doesn't have to be perfect. However, it should always be presented to represent life. But as we all know, those times can be few and far between. So it's the little things we do, like slowing down, concentrating on what our lure is doing and how and where we're fishing it, they can make a tremendous difference. Like right now, and the way we're fishing it. So it does make a big, big difference. We're trying to make that bait look as alive as possible. And we're doing it basically with a rod. We're putting a lifelike action into this bait with the rod tip. And we're not out there going boom, 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 boom with it. We're not trying to make it jump 4 and 5 feet up off the bottom, because the crawfish doesn't do that. The crawfish just doesn't do that. He's kind of a lazy little critter. He just kind of waddles like that when he's going forward. And he'll kind of have burst speeds if something gets after him. And he'll swim backwards, and then when he stops, he'll kind of glide and fall back to the bottom. And he'll scurry up under something.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Quantum Rods and Reels, Quantum Performance Tuned, Mystic Lubricants, Lubrication Domination, and Tracker Boats, Fish the Finest. Today's equipment log is brought to you by Ego Fishing and their all-new S2 slider landing nets with the most advanced handle extension technology. Take the battle to the water with Ego. Today's show is sponsored in part by Berkeley, Catch More Fish, Bill Dance Exclusive Rods by Quantum, and by Garmin. Fight your fish, not your fish finder.
Look here. Oh, there's a hoss right there, boy. I bet there's a lot of weight there. I'm gonna come back down here and get you. All right, easy. You through? Boy. Whoa! That little bait in that big old mouth. It's important to remember that successful fishermen must vary their lure speed until the right one is found for the current conditions. Now, who tells you this? Well, they say normally the fish itself, but I've never had a fish just tell me, hey, you're fishing the bait too fast, you're fishing the bait too slow. I try to imitate the lure speed based on what the lure looks like that I'm fishing. I'm not going to take a crawfish and just zip it through the water because the crawfish doesn't fit, swim that way. I'm going to try to mimic the action of a real crawfish. Let's say you've chosen the correct bait, size, and color, and you're fishing it at the proper depth with 0 results. What's wrong? More than likely, it's your presentation. Take soft plastic baits, for instance. Assume you're fishing a worm, a lizard, and you're crawling it across the bottom, and it looks natural and very appealing to the fish staring at it. But he rejects it and seems totally disinterested. This slow pulling retrieve more closely imitates a slow movement, which sometimes they like and is very effective. Well, let me tell you, something that's worked for me in this situation so many times is to forget the traditional technique or method of working the lure. Instead, try this. Occasionally pause during the retrieve, letting the bait rest motionless. In fact, a bass's interest may be most when the worm is allowed to lie motionless for a half minute or more. Now, I can tell you, you've got to have a lot of patience to do this. By adding this break in the retrieve, you give the fish a different presentation, and sometimes this really does work. Okay. Boy, fat, pretty fish. There it is. Howdy. Ta-ta. God, he's gone too. That indigo blue, you call that Okeechobee special. It's got pumpkin, green pumpkin. And I think this crawfish gulp helps it. The Bill Dance Question and Answer of the Week is brought to you by Mystic Lubricants and their complete line of JT4 marine products. A full line of products for your full line of pursuits. Visit mysticlube.com today. Can fishery management make a difference, especially on large reservoirs? Yes, sir. The folks that do this are very dedicated and often unappreciated. They spend most of their days on the water, and that's fishing for facts rather than fun. Their work is geared toward making fisheries better. They're watchdogs for our pastime. Next time you run across one of them, be sure to thank them for the job they do.
Today's show is sponsored in part by Berkeley, Catch More Fish. Bill Dance exclusive rods by Quantum. And by Garmin. Fight your fish, not your fish finder. Today's product tip is brought to you by Garmin and their GPS map series, chart plotter sonar combos with their advanced sonar technology, like Panoptic's Live Scope all-seeing sonar. You'll spend less time finding your fish.
Hey, I got a great product I want to show and tell you about. It's one of Ego's Cryptech Genesis Landing Net series. This S1 model is truly unique and attractive, with a removable handle for easy storage and interchangeable accessories for several different size removable handles and net styles and sizes. And you know something? It floats.
Come be part of Bill Dance Digital. Join us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Follow us.
Whoa, boy. Whoa, here we go. Oh, yeah, look at here. It's a strong little old fish. Whoa. But he's a fat one. Hey, well, I didn't do it, you did it. Look how fat that one is. Fat as a butter bean. Presentation is so important. You want to make that bait look, or that lure look, as much alive as you possibly can. We're using a bait that looks like a crawfish, and we want to make it look like that. We want to make it appear. When that bass looks at it, we want to make it look as much like a crawfish as we possibly can. And that's done with the way we work it with this rod and the reel. We don't want to sit there and just do it like that, because a crawfish doesn't go crazy through the water like that. A crawfish moves through the water in a fluid movement. It'll crawl about in a forward motion, but if something gets after it, sometimes it'll flutter like that. It swims backwards. But I'm on a ledge right now, and I'm not just going to throw that bait one time. I'm going to try to fan that ledge right there. As you can see from this illustration, the bass we're catching are suspended in a depth of 8 to 12 feet, just out from an 8-foot ledge that skirts its way in and out down the shoreline. Now, most of the bait fish are migrating up and down along this ledge. What I'm doing is paralleling the ledge using a fan cast series as I work along it. This way I can cover the most productive area, working my lure in the ideal depth range for longer periods of time. I'm watching my line. I'm a line watcher. I'm using Trilene XL. It's fluorescent, and I can see my line. I don't know if the camera picked that up or not, but when that bait falls back to the bottom, that line falls back to me. I'll pick it up, just barely moving that bait. Now as it settles back, watch that line fall back to me. Now it's back on the bottom. That's a good fish right there. Oh, you're coming right at the boat. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, look here. It's a big one. I mean, a big one. Oh, don't you pull that. Hold him, jig. Oh, look at that big thing. Are you through? Big hard pulling thing, you. That did it. Look at that big old long slinky baby. Yes, sir. What do you say? You say you want to go home? Yep. Here we go. In closing, let me remind you just once more about the importance of slowing down. By doing this, you'll be able to cover an area much more carefully and far more thoroughly. Plus, you'll be able to work your lure with the correct presentation nearly every time. Think of it this way: your presentation isn't only a good thing, most times it's the only thing. Thanks for being with us, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Bill Dance Outdoors. Join us here again next week.
Now I've gone fishing with Bill Dance today.